Speaking of somebody who we listen to on a regular basis and we think the world of, friend of the show, Michael Freeze of Transport Topics. He's the features editor over there. He joins us this morning. You can find him everywhere Transport Topics is, by the way. And he's a Pittsburgh Steeler fan. Big one, by the way. He's also a naval veteran. He's got a beautiful family. It's always great to have him. And by the way, he can talk professional wrestling too, Dave. He can talk wrestling. He got to get him, and Louis Pugh together at some point. Hey, Michael, how are you?
I am doing great, Jimmy. How are you today?
No complaints.
Michael, this is Dave. Wrestling, did you ever see this? It was a limited, and the fact they pulled it, it was so good, I thought. It was called Heels, and it was about pro wrestling, but in a small Alabama or Georgia town. I forget what state. It was in the South. A little family-owned wrestling. Did you ever see that?
I haven't seen it yet. It's definitely on the queue of things that I wanted to see. That's it's on the long list of wrestling related.
Yeah, man, it is great. You'll love it.
Let's
love this.
Let's talk about that really quickly in regards to news reporting and even the trucking industry in regards to news reporting, because everybody knows that there are two kinds of energy that people can have in the wrestling media sphere. Either you can have heel heat, or you can have face heat. Mm-hmm. And those terms, right, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mm-hmm. So I mean, of course, heel heat, for those listeners who don't know, and by the way, shame on you if you drive a truck for a living and don't understand wrestling terminology, but okay, we can live with that. Face heat is when you're a good guy and the crowd loves you and they elevate you to great statuses. Sometimes a heel can often discover that he finds out that people want to know what The Rock is cooking, and they want to smell what The Rock is cooking is a great example of that. Sometimes you have heel heat where a guy becomes a bad guy, and the audience loves to boo him as well. Is any of that, and by the way, that's been creeping into the news, it's been creeping into politics, it's all over the place. Is it anywhere in trucking media yet? Do you feel like it's made any sort of creep into our sphere?
Well,
that's a good question.
From the outside looking in, I would say that, when it comes to wrestlers and the centric personalities that go with them, I would think, especially, the truckers listening right now, it's kind of, and that's the whole appeal of wrestling. It's just, you see yourself in these particular characters. So I would think it individually, I think some drivers might think they're Triple H. Some think that they're Big Bam Bigelow. Right now I don't see a particular person. I think maybe some of your callers might have a few choices and everything, but I myself, especially as a journalist as well, and just my personality being objective, I really don't want to put too many names to wrestling characters.
They know who you are, and they know where you live.
I definitely don't want to get the heel heat here.
Yeah, I understand that. By the way, I can give you a great example for a generic kind of version of it. Truckers during the pandemic had definite face heat. Is a great kind of example of that. Mm-hmm. That during the pandemic, truckers across the board had real face heat. People were like cheering them on. People understood what they were doing. People finally got it. People sat down in the toilet and realized how much they needed truckers. I mean, these realities were kind of out there. I'm only bringing this up because one of the biggest difficulties we have in this sphere is, look, we could actually create a world of villains and heroes. And by the way, if you spend time on social media, you will watch a number of what I would call alienated, disassociated, disappointed truckers, often assigning heel heat to organizations or groups of people they don't like in a desperate attempt to kind of turn the world into a Montechian wrestling match. The difficulty about what you do and what Dave and I do, boy, it gets harder and harder for Dave and I resist finding heel heat all around us. But you know what I'm talking about here. You have to maintain that objectivity. You can't assign a company that lays off 1,000 workers heel heat. You've just got to say it happened. You can't, although face heat does get achieved by like Highway Angels. those individual highway
Yeah,
angels.
there you go.
It's easier to assign face heat to people through a news story because heel heat means, well, it means lawyers start calling, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to kind of, we've never talked wrestling, wanted to give it a shot. Thank you, Michael. So talk to us, what you got going on, what's happening right now?
Well, today is the day that the third quarter Calibrate, which covers the maintenance and the equipment side of the trucking industry, is out today at Transport Topics. And the lead story that I wrote was a session from the spring annual meeting of the Technology and Maintenance Council. And it was a very well attended session, and I really wanted to explore this topic. When you have technicians, they have their jargon. When it comes to fleet technicians, they have their jargon. In the shop bay, they need to get things done. They need to limit that downtime for these trucks to come out. They have ideas of ways of running the shop more efficiently. Taking those ideas into the C-suite. That fleet manager that goes to the director of maintenance for whomever fleet, there needs to be that communication there for that manager to describe that idea to that C-suite manager. And sometimes that's where the disconnect happens. So the lead story for the Calibrate discusses that whole concept of miscommunication and making sure those communication lines are clear, and that the fleet manager and the C-suite director are on the same page. And there's many ways that I discussed this in the article. Just being having empathy for that manager, and the other way around as well. So the article just kind of summarizes that relationship and gives recommendations on how to better communicate with leadership, definitely when it comes to trucking, because there's a lot of lingo and there's a lot of language that can be lost in translation when you're just trying to promote good ideas and make the fleet better.
When you talk about TMC and language, of course, VMRS comes into play. So you call it a widget, I call it a what's it, and it's the same thing, but we never, but one of the things, too, that, communication is who are these people, what does C stand for? And it was so obvious when I read it what C stands for. It stands for chief, like chief executive officer, CEO, CFO, right. COO. Then I understand now there is a V suite for vice presidents. And so we have this hierarchy now. We're building this this pyramid of responsibilities, and we don't know how to talk to one another. We don't. Some of these words and these catchphrases, your target goal is what is that? What does that mean? And I'm looking at the article. I hope folks will read this article. It's really well written. But there was a takeaway that's kind of a little bit of a sidebar, I guess, on this, Mike. But Joe Phillips with Eagle Transportation says his dad told him that if you know how to do something, you will always have a job. If you know why you're doing something, you will always be the boss. And that was my takeaway from that article, actually.
Yeah, I mean, when Joe said that, I've heard that before, but to have it applied to this particular sense, and he really brought perspective to that in the sense of, when it doesn't have to be a fleet manager to a maintenance director. I mean, it could be a shop manager at Burger King to their district manager. It's one of those things where the basic tenet of presenting an idea, having something, learning that relationship of leadership in which you're not going into a room of the the CEO or the or whomever. And wanting something, there has to be some type of strategy involved, because if you're entering that room, you're going to be talking big scale ideas, and this is something that's going to be implemented, rather slowly, versus fast. So you want to have those ideas laid out, And I mean, it's just, I mean, it comes down to that basic communication and knowing, I think that's in the article as well, just knowing that, you know, when you have an idea going into an office, going into your manager's office or your director's office, that you have to have it in the back of your mind that, you know, this might be rejected.
Yeah.
You know,
In fact, Joe Phillips, Joe Phillips says, be prepared to have your plan turned down.
So it's definitely that mindset that managers have to have when they go into that room, because if there's not that mindset, then there's a whole bunch of other things that are layered into that miscommunication. I mean, it could be just as simply as, you know, this is going to cost too much money to implement, and then, you know, if you don't have that mindset, then it turns into something that's you know, that's not business, that's a little more personally perceived, you know, and then you have all those layers, you know, on top of the, you know, the basic, you know, business hurdles that we all face. So, you know, and this story just encompasses all of that. It's just in the sense of, you know, both parties know what they're talking about when it comes to trucking and maintenance, but communicating those ideas and learning to reach a common ground, you know, that's, you know, I mean, I would say that's probably more of a problem than people would think. Especially
we lost Michael. Michael, you still there?
No,
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Michael, but the timing is well done there. We are absolutely out of time. From bay to boardroom, fleet maintenance leaders learn to speak the language of the C-suite. Michael Fries has written a beautiful article, and by the way, it really is about empathy, the literal definition of the word. Michael, we'll unpack this further, get you on for longer form, and we'll really dig into this. There's a lot more to say here. It's always good to talk to you. And by the way, Michael Fries got face heat. Thank you, sir.
Let me know if you watch Heels.
No, yes, Mr. Nemo. Yes, sir. I will definitely tell you. Have a great day. Have a great. I'm sorry. Have a great day, guys.
Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Michael Fries.